So from here we see the effect of righteous parents who have fikr and concern for their children. Hazrat Nu'man, despite his tender age, narrates the Ahaadeeth of Rasulullah. There's this report in Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim from Sha'bi, who hears this from Hazrat Nu'man bin Basheer radiallahu anhu, who said, I heard Rasulullah say. And Sha'bi says, as Hazrat Nu'man was saying this, he was pointing towards his ears with his fingers, meaning telling the congregation, I heard Rasulullah say this directly. إن الحلال بين وإن الحرام بين وبينهما مشتبهات لا يعلمهن كثير من الناس. The beloved of Allah said, halal is clear, outright clear, and what is haram is clear. But between the boundaries and the borders of what is halal and what is haram, there are issues that are doubtful, and many don't know these issues. فَمَنِ اتَّقَى الشُّبُهَاتِ, the one who abstains from doubtful matters, he would then preserve his deen and his honor. And the one who goes into the borderline of doubtful issues and things and matters, he would then end up falling into haram. How amazing are these teachings? Stay in what is halal, stay away from what is haram. Now between halal and haram, there are issues that are contentious. Stay away from those issues, otherwise we'll end up falling into haram. And this is the temperament of deen. Every aspect of deen we find this. Whatever there is doubt in, abstain from it. Stay away from it. This will preserve our deen. This will preserve our children's deen. Whether it's concerning consumables and every aspect of deen. This is the beautiful way deen is based. For example, even our salahs. We should uphold this in our life, in our children's lives. Show them the beauty of the sunan prayers and then the nawafil prayers. We find, as our ulama say, when a person upholds the nawafil, inshallah, he will never fall short when it comes to the sunan. The wall of sunnah will be preserved in him. When a person neglects the sunnah, slowly, there'll be indentages and there'll be ruptures creeping into the wall of farida. And when he then fails and falls short when it comes to the farida, and then the edifice of deen will start crumbling from within and from beneath us. That's why the system of deen is so pure and preserved. And this is deduced from the hadith taught by Hazrat Nu'man radiallahu anhu, that he directly heard from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And in the same hadith, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave the parable of the shepherd, karra'i. If he is grazing with his flock, yar'a hawla al-hima, around the boundaries, the borders, he'll then fall into prohibited areas. So he said, Ala wa inna likulli malikin himan, every ruler, every king has a jurisdiction and has a boundary. And the boundaries that Allah Ta'ala does not want us to trespass and violate is what is haram. And then the hadith continues to say, verily, indeed, Allah, hearken, behold. This is to say, listen to this, to the whole hadith and hearken to this part as well. Allah wa inna fil jasadi mudgha. Verily, in the body, there's a lump of flesh. When this lump of flesh is corrected, the entire body will be sound and correct, meaning firm on deen and resilient upon the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَإِذَا فَسَدَتْ, but when this heart, when this lump of flesh is corrupted, this will lead to the corruption of the entire body. Allah وَهِيَ الْقَلْبِ, the beloved of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated, behold, hearken, this limb which is so important and crucial to the life of the believer and in the body of the believer, this is indeed the heart. Subhanallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preserve our iman and help us cleanse our hearts and give us purification in our amal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us. Amazing is this hadith of Hazrat Nu'man. And if we analyze the links to the ahadith, it portrays to us clearly that we will fall into doubtful actions when our hearts are dirty. That's why among the lengthiest qasams in the Quran is chapter 91 of the Quran Kareem, Surah Al-Shams, where Quran presents 7 qasams, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, to then portray one very, very important aspect.
والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشاها والسماء وما بناها والأرض وما طحاها ونفس وما سواها فألهمها فجورها وتقواها. Then, so the 7 qasams, and then the purpose for which the qasams are brought, which is muqsam alayh. Why is this qasam brought? Which is verse number 9. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. Indeed, successful is he or she, that individual who cleanses and purifies the soul and the heart. And destruction is the lot of the one who buries it, meaning puts it into dubious things and doubtful things and causes his heart to become filthy and dirty. Allah Ta'ala save us.
Famous hadith. Amongst the many ahadith Hazrat Nu'man narrates, is also a famous hadith in Sahih Bukhari, wherein he heard Rasulullah say, and this is a parable, subhanallah, of how we have to care and have a great concern for others. مَثَلُ الْقَائِمِ فِي حُدُودِ اللَّهِ. We all know and learned this hadith, but this is the hadith of Hazrat Nu'man. مَثَلُ الْقَائِمِ فِي حُدُودِ اللَّهِ وَالْوَاقِعِ فِيهَا كَمَثَلِ قَوْمٍ اسْتَهَمُوا عَلَى السَّفِينَةِ. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam gave a parable of those who will uphold Allah's commands and those who will neglect and violate the commands of Allah and the deen of Allah are like a people. These people who have boarded and embarked on the ship, istahamu ala safina. Now they casted lots, and then they took their seats or their places on the decks of the ship. One is the upper deck, the other is the lower deck. فَصَارَ بَعْضُهُمْ أَعْلَاهَا وَبَعْضُهُمْ أَسْفَلَهَا. Some went up, some went down. These are 2 groups. فَكَانَ الَّذِينَ فِي أَسْفَلِهَا. Those that boarded the lower deck of the ship, every time they needed water, they had to go upstairs, and now they have to take some space from those who are up there, and then with their assistance or on their own, cast down a bucket, collect the water and take it down. Then this idea dawned upon them, that why don't we, لو أننا خرقنا في نصيبنا خرقا. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that they are thinking to themselves, among themselves, why don't we cleave and break some planks here, cleave a hole into the lower deck, and we can get how much of water we want. لو أننا خرقنا في نصيبنا خرقا. We don't have to then inconvenience those in the upper deck. ولم نؤذي من فوقنا. As they are in this idea, and when they want to carry out this wise idea of theirs, which they are considering, and they carry on with this action of theirs, everyone embarked on that ship would get destroyed. But if those in the upper deck come down and convince them that you can't do this and it's not a good idea, and they stop them from this, then everyone embarked on that ship would be in salvation, will get saved. What we learn from this amazing hadith that Hazrat Nu'man shares with the ummah, that he heard from the Mubarak lips of Janabi Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is we cannot confine ourselves to having concern for our own piety only, but we have to worry about the salvation and the guidance of others. When they are Muslim, we have to help others in bringing more deen in them, connecting them to the masjid. When we are in the masjid, we have to have this concern. What about the community? They are not here in the masjid. Bring them. And when we're living our lives, the non-Muslims also, we have to invite them to Islam and express the truth to them. So this hadith shows us that there's no salvation for us alone by us caring for ourselves only. This is actually selfishness. And that's the meaning of the surah of the Quran Kareem, which starts with the last qasam in the Quran Kareem. Quran Kareem says, Wal Asr. Allah Ta'ala takes qasam by the token of time, that humanity is at loss. Innal insana lafi khusr. Illa alladhina amanu. Then Quran makes an exception. Who will come out of this loss? The people of Iman. And then A'mal. Illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihat. But many of us feel, and this notion is incorrect, that we are saved when we stop here, Iman and Amal. But this surah of the Quran Kareem, that's why subhanallah, it's clear in the Ahaadeeth, when Sahaba would meet, they would read the surah to each other. They would recite the surah to each other, reminding each other of their responsibility and our responsibility. Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah says, if mankind took upon themselves this surah, it is sufficient for their guidance and salvation. So it doesn't end at Iman and Amal. Illa, to come out of khusr, which is loss, we have to do Iman and Amal. Then it continues, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, and they collectively, as an ummah, have to invite each other towards Iman. And such emphatic advice and encouragement, tawasaw, comes from the word wasiyah, which is like a dying man emphasizes his message and his will, and it's given such importance to wasiyah, his final words. This comes from the word giving those final words, and what it means is strongly advocating something. And it comes on a scale of tafa'ul, which has the quality of collectivity in it. The ummah has to collectively invite humanity and invite each other to Iman, haqq. And haqq also means good deeds. So we cannot confine the good deeds to ourselves only, but inspire others as well, because we are the ummah of Muhammad ﷺ, who's the greatest Nabi of Allah, after whom there's no Nabi to come. And also, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, collectively help each other as an ummah in times of adversity and difficulty, and be there for each other and support each other by every means possible. So this hadith explains this ayah. Another hadith to share of Hazrat Nu'man radiallahu anhu. But also in this hadith we should also consider this, that sometimes we are doing something good but we have no concern for others. Remember the incident of the deck. Remember, we will also be destroyed if we don't make an effort on others as well. Like that man who's drowning, and in that situation of drowning, he then falls unconscious inside the water, and he's going deeper and deeper. The first thing is for him to wake up. And when he wakes up in the water, he has to now start moving in a motion to get himself to air. And as he does this, he realizes he gets to salvation. So this is an example of Iman, to wake up, Amal, to make that effort of deeds and actions. But then he realizes there's someone else tied to his leg, and there are others tied to him. So this is his brother, this is his relative, this is his neighbor. So he goes to his brother inside the water and he wakes him up, but he is in a deep slumber. So he shakes him up, and as that person is dreaming, the first thing is to wake him up. And as he awakens, he doesn't want to wake up first. When he wakes up, then he has to also move in this motion and together make an effort to get to water, to get to salvation. And then the two of them realize the entire community is attached to us. We have to bring this realization to every person. And like that, we are one ummah, and we have to do this collectively, uplifting each other. Allah help us. One more hadith of Hazrat Nu'man amongst many is subhanallah. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentions that when we make the dhikr of Allah, the dhikr of Allah will surround and circumambulate the arsh of Allah ta'ala. يَنْعَطِفْنَ حَوْلَ الْعَرْشِ. This famous hadith is the hadith of Nu'man bin Basheer. When one makes Allah's dhikr, La ilaha illallah, subhanallah, this dhikr of Allah circumambulates the arsh of Allah, and please, on behalf of the one making dhikr, that this person be forgiven. Then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, wouldn't you want something on your behalf speaking by the arsh of Allah ta'ala for you? And that is the dhikr of Allah ta'ala. So subhanallah, his ahadith encompass all aspects of deen that we need to bring into our lives. Let's remember this glorious, amazing Sahabi radiyallahu anhu wa sallallahu ala nabi al-ummi.